So I want to warn you that this story contains mention of murder and of incarceration, just so you're prepared for that and can prepare as you need to. So I heard this story several years ago of a woman and a teen boy. The teen boy is being tried for shooting and killing the woman's teen son, a senseless gang-related murder. The mother sits in the trial every day, day in, day out, staring at the boy who killed her son, seemingly looking into his soul. And on the day judgment is given, at the moment the boy is taken off in handcuffs to prison, she looks him dead in the eyes and says quite calmly, "I'm going to kill you." The boy's blood runs cold. And in that moment, he knew in the calm certainty of her words that she meant it. Some time passes in which she tends to her grief, hoping the verdict will give her some healing, which it does a bit. But she feels an irresistible pull to visit the boy in prison, which she doesn't understand, but the feeling won't go away, so she asks to visit him, and he, curious and likely bored, consents to the visit. I imagine that first meeting was pretty tense. Both remember the last time they saw one another, the "I'll kill you" that she uttered with complete conviction in the courtroom. But neither mentioned that. That first visit, the mother asks the boy about the conditions in the prison. She asks how the boy spends his time. Surface, easy stuff. And at the end of the visit, she asks if she might come again. And she does. She begins to visit weekly. Soon, mother and boy are talking about deeper things. He tells her about his family, about how he's entered the gang at 14 to try to get some money for his mom and siblings, how at first he tried to resist joining, but the pressure from local gang members seemed too much. How he soon found himself doing things he didn't want to do, but still a child himself was too scared not to. As he begins to heal, he also begins to express regret. The woman, in turn, talks about her son, the child the boy murdered, about who he was, about his dreams, about how much she misses him. The visits continue every week for a few years. And then the time comes for the boy, now a man, to be released. She asks where he'll go. He says he doesn't know. He's got nobody, at least nobody with a place to stay. And so she takes a breath and says, "You can stay with me." He's confused and a little scared. He still remembers the threat she uttered. Was this when she was going to carry it out? But it's his best and only offer, so he takes it. He settles in with her. Weeks pass, then months. He goes back to school, he gets a job. He continues living with her, always wondering at the back of his mind when her revenge will come. But it never does. One day he gets up the nerve to ask her. He says, "When you said you were going to kill me that day in the courtroom, you seemed so determined. And yet, here I am, still alive. You've fed me, you've clothed me, you were my only visitor in prison. You've encouraged me, and I am who I am now because of you." Her response, "Oh, but I did kill you. The boy who shot my son no longer exists. In his place is a man who does the right thing, a man with integrity and his own moral compass. A man who would never do what that boy did all those years ago. I didn't really know what I was doing when I first started visiting you, only that you seemed so lost. But I've seen you grow and change, and that boy is gone. A good man has taken his place." Now, I've heard this story before, and I'm told it's been told from this pulpit before as well. And I've never been able to verify it. It could be an amalgam of several stories that I've found in my research. And I want to be clear that the moral of this story is not that we have a duty to forgive. I'm not a big fan of that theology. Forgiveness is a thing that for victims to extend if they want to, when they're ready. But I do offer this story as an example of what can happen when we offer our yes, even in the hardest circumstances. It's a story of generosity. And as we continue our exploration of the UUA's core values, we note that the description of generosity given in the new UUA bylaws is we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. There's wisdom in those words. There's a recognition that in performing acts of generosity, we cultivate hope. We generate hope. Because the practice of being generous with our time and our energy, with our resources and with our hearts, involves a belief that our acts of kindness and connection will make a difference. A hope that in connecting with others, we can get all of our needs met. And a faith that our communities can and will support one another and come through for one another. And Lord knows we can use some hope right now. For this month, your ministry team has defined generosity as the practice of expanding our yes. What happens when we say yes to simple acts of radical generosity? The woman in the story needed to approach the boy with radical openness and curiosity. She could have written him off. She could have left him to a punitive system with little support and little hope for a future. But ultimately, she said yes to the urging of her heart, probably much to the surprise of her mind. So, the Christmas carols we've sung today have some pretty high Christology language, you may have noticed. That is, language that holds Jesus up as a deity. And we're not too used to that as Unitarian Universalists. That's not part of most of our personal philosophies and beliefs. But I think there's something in the Christmas story in the traditional sense, in the Orthodox version of Christmas, where God, with all the power and majesty of absolute deity, came to us as a completely helpless baby in the form of Jesus. In this Christian theology, again different from the ones our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors practiced, God came to dwell among us to eventually give his life to save us from ourselves. The most powerful being in the universe humbled himself, voluntarily gave up the ability to do literally anything he wanted, to become that most vulnerable of beings, a human baby. Because generosity isn't about power. It isn't about what the powerful can give the less powerful. It's about relationship, about how we care for each other, open our hearts to each other, connect with one another. A Jesus who came to make us whole, not by edict, but by relationship. The first act of his ministry, arguably, wasn't to grab for power, nor was it to lay down the terms by which he was willing to engage with mere humans, nor was it to run for public office. Jesus' first act was to start collecting disciples, friends, people. Emmanuel, come with us to dwell. And of course, we at JUC understand that every act of welcoming a visitor, every commitment by every new member is an act of hope. As these new members say yes to this community, we say yes to them. And so, friends, what I most want to say to you today is don't let your head get in the way of your heart. We're given so many reasons not to be generous by our society, not to say yes, not to be expansive with our yes, that will be taken advantage of, that the wrong people will get help, that our generosity, our yes, will make us unsafe. Please do see this for what it is. It's an attempt to divide us. More than that, an attempt to sever the connection that already exists between us. Because while we as Unitarian Universalists may not all believe in the all-powerful God of Jesus or Trinitarian Christianity, what we do bring forward from our Christian histories is the belief that Jesus' purpose was to help us live into our own divinity, to show us what it looks like when we, in our divine, flawed humanity, say yes to relationship, yes to the needs that present themselves to us. And of course, Jesus did this at a time when his people were under occupation by the Roman Empire, when his people didn't have the same rights that the Romans did, the same access to resources. When the forces of empire were laid out against him, when faced with injustice and with want, Jesus' response was to lean into generosity, to continually say yes to the needs around him and to having his needs met by his friends. He knew that hope comes from contributing to something bigger, than ourselves, a hope that is much bigger and deeper than the hope of wealth or unlimited power. A hope that can defeat those forces if we keep building it, keep connecting and contributing to it. May we all continue to contribute our yes to that hope. Amen.
Before we join in our closing hymn together, a brief invitation for another opportunity to expand your yes into traditions that are not our own. Next Sunday, the 21st, anyone know what that is? Solstice. We will be doing our traditional annual JUC Solstice service as our Sunday morning services next week. So please join us at 9 or 11. We'll do our traditional routine of putting our intentions to paper, connecting them to the wreath, and burning that wreath on the patio. But that will be during our morning services. So I invite you to join us next week as we experience that together. And I invite you right now to rise in body or spirit for our hymn of the month from the virtual hymnal, Joy in the Morning by Adam Pod. We'll find joy in the morning, joy in the morning, joy in the morning, in the morning we'll find joy. We find hope in our children, hope in our children, hope in our children, in our children we find hope. We find strength in each other,
go forth this week, JUC, finding the love around us. May we go forth finding ways to expand our yes. May we keep connected and loving and supportive and remember who we are and what we are in the world to do. Go in peace, JUC. I love you.